because they're really having trouble here in the beginning of the season. Maybe they do go for something like arranging a team comp into a split push where Ssumday gets to play Fiora or split pusher and actually try and separate him from the rest of the team and do some solo work.
We'll have to see if Ssumday's back is strong and ready to carry like they want him to. Malzahar and Jhin both going to be banned away by Team Dignitas. The Malzahar we mentioned last game, how Lemon has so many games on that. Not at all surprised to see that taken off the table. As Camille and Karma will be the bans from FlyQuest. So the big three, again, not going to be the red side choices.
Lemonnation is very well acquainted with this game. He definitely does like not falling into the top tier pattern here for red side bans. They are actually all going to find themselves on the ban list anyways, though, as seeing a LeBlanc response here means that you aren't trading for nothing anymore, so you have to take out the other half of that trade as well. You would be just giving over Rengar for free. Not going to be the case here. But Dignitas grabbing onto that Varus once again.
No surprise.
No surprise. Lethality's great for him. You know, wave clear's great for him. The utility that everybody talks about. But if you get behind against divers, wave clear is not going to be able to save you. We saw High early on, taking advantage of him. Just ult Q was pretty much enough damage.
that was pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. That didn't look like a very fun experience from Lod's point of view. But they're going to be locking in Zyra first and foremost for FlyQuest. Also picking up the Jayce.
All right, FlyQuest going with strong lanes right out the bat, even with 2 picks right here. And to me, there's no way that Team Dignitas go with another, Braum or melee support and let their bottom lane just get smashed early on. Because if you open up an area of weakness like that on the bottom side, in addition to the enemy team having a Jayce to, either top or mid, still could be flexible, but a Jayce where to be able to go into a favorable matchup, that already means that you're going to have one strong lane for FlyQuest. If you let them just accumulate strong lanes across the board, it's going to be the same type of story.
You're just setting yourself up to have to climb out of a hole from early game, and that's not a position anybody wants to ever have to be playing from. Dignitas, holes, man. Don't want nothing to do with them. As Keane is going to be picking up the Nami for Xpecial, and Chaser locks in that Elise for himself. So bottom lane and jungle going to be the choices here for Dignitas early. But that does mean, Kobe, that we are not going to see the roles exactly mirrored in the first pick phase.
Also, not only the role thing, but it's super weird to me to ever see Kha'Zix not picked up.
Yeah, it's kind of peculiar, huh?
I'm very biased.
That's weird.
Because I spent most of my time recently on the champion, but just feels so strong, especially with Rengar, being off. That seems like super clear #1. Elise definitely has a lot of benefits that are kind of unique, though. Does bring the extra range form. You can come to siege turrets pretty early on, way earlier than most other junglers. Also does provide more poke with a poke comp if you do want to group up and use your Nami as your defensive. The Varus, landing arrows on a cocoon target is much easier. So there are some things you can go for with it. Also, the early game is definitely not to be underestimated.
Just now noticed that FlyQuest has both Shen and Jayce locked in.
As we said, Jayce can go mid lane.
Yeah, that's true. But it's unusual to see it, right? Normally he is played top lane, so going to get to see that flex. That will be fun. As Maokai, Ryze, and Kha'Zix all going to be banned away so far. Dig thinking the same thing you are. Kha'Zix is pretty strong. We probably don't want to be dealing with him.
Yeah, it's actually not. Maybe this is the first time I've ever seen it get to the second ban phase without him being jumped on immediately. But FlyQuest we saw how successful the Shen was for them and their playstyle. They have balls always on a tank, and him being on the tank that can join the bottom side of the map puts so much pressure on Team Dignitas to create early on. Create before level 6, create top side, and Balls is actually just fine playing super defensively and farming. So they've really shown that the dedication to this strategy here for FlyQuest as they come through once again with misfortune as well.
Corki going to be picked up on the side of Dignitas. We've been seeing this pick do a lot of work from the mid lane, so Dignitas deciding, hey, that's going to be the answer to the problems we were experiencing before. And Gangplank. Yeah. We talked about Ssumday carrying. Here you go.
I think the Elise pick definitely did signal towards this and kind of give it away a little bit, as Team Dignitas are just going super all in on this range damage. Super high damage, super high poke. Gangplank can also chunk you out very heavily under turrets within siege mode, and also gives you another form of disengage. When you kite back through a Nami wave, through a Gangplank ultimate, with all of these ranged champions kind of spreading out and trying to DPS while they're kiting, you can really get caught in an overchase situation.
Yeah, we got something else, man. We got something else in store.
The Nidalee is back. I was really hoping that the last round of buffs would not bring her back.
That makes two of us.
I'm okay. I'm okay with it as long as she does not take over solo queue again and isn't in every single game. But for those of you who didn't quite pay attention, she did also get some buffs recently to try and help out with her health issues. But we shall see how well Moon can actually pilot this champion, because this is a super interesting jungle matchup. As like we talked about, Kha'Zix went to the second ban phase, and they also added on the target ban of the Evelynn, which is very Moon specific.
Yeah, two Evelynn games actually he's played so far in Spring Split 2017. So definitely one
and about 1,000 solo queue ones.
Yeah, there's a lot in solo queue, but we're not going to factor those into this right now. But I feel like we're practically in some kind of a time machine, going back into a patch from the past with Nidalee versus Elise in the jungle. This is just, I never would have expected this to be the matchup.
This is actually pretty interesting, because both sides are so heavily focused on the range damage for poking, for sieging, that Shen, actually the lone melee champion, discounting all these transformers, it's actually going to make Ball's life very difficult, because he's going to be easily focused if he tries to go in, and he's going to be much more of a defensive ult bot and defensive taunts, probably.
He's the only real tank on the map, though, because, I mean, Elise can get tanky. Yes, tanky.
And the problem for Shen is getting tanky against Gangplank is super difficult.
Yeah.
In lane, he gets punished very heavily. Gangplank oranges your taunts for any sort of gank setup or harassment that you want to do. And he also shreds through all the armor that you're going to be building through the barrels. He's got true damage. So Gangplank, super good just lane matchup versus Shen. And then also, Gangplank makes navigating team fights where you're the only melee hell. Because you are such an obvious target, it's very easy to focus fire the lone melee. In comes Lod with the fast feet here, dodges all of the skill shots from FlyQuest. That bodes well for them.
Yeah, always nice to be sidestepping some of that level 1 damage. As Chaser and Ssumday going to be looking towards this top part of the jungle now. That explosive spider finds its way on top of both Moon and Balls, but they're not willing to go any further for it.
Yeah, dodging is going to be a huge part of this game, as both teams are packing so much of that range harassment, and skill shots will definitely make or break this game. I do like what Dignitas have done this time around with their blue side, though, and got that counter pick on the Shen with the Gangplank here for Ssumday, because, as I said, Ssumday, he's the star you're looking at. And, ooh, actually, bottom lane is the focus here.
A lot of damage on the Lod. Ignite going to be used, too. Altec not going any further, looking to make something happen. He knows the heal is there, but that was a ton of level 1 pain.
The other thing that goes along with so many range champions is that exhaust does slightly lose viability, as you're not having, Zed's not diving in, Rengar's not diving in, so the melee defensive options where you usually just pop that on an assassin or something are very slim. Maybe, I guess you can consider Gangplank an assassin if he flash shoots you or something.
Yeah, some sort of
yeah, so that's the adaptation where we actually see Ignite coming out. Plus, the double of Ignite really doing well against Nami and the sustain here in lane. So I really want to get back to tracking these junglers, though, because it was such an odd jungler moment. And they are actually meeting up on the scuttle, as Moon just barely is able to take it before Chaser blast cones over the side.
So good job for Moon. He's going to grab that. Of course, helps keep the bottom lane a little bit safer, as they're going to be shoving up. Misfortune and Zyra showing how strong of a bottom lane duo they are right now. And the one thing I want to comment on, when the keystones were up on the screen, you actually saw that Altec's Misfortune is running Deathfire Touch.
Yeah, again.
Instead of Warlords, just like game number 1. We actually saw it get him a kill on the Chaser in game number 1. So very valuable keystone.
Yeah, it really, really helps out with the giant spread of damage, tagging everybody. Also, in lane, Misfortune's play pattern, especially since she gets to go lethality now, just buy a bunch of longswords. You have a lot of power on getting your secondary target Q damage. Basically, if you hit a minion with that shot that's about to die, and there's this, I believe it's 45 degree, maybe it got shortened to 35 degree angle behind the minion, the second bounce on that shot on the double up can take out a huge chunk of life. It's very interesting though. I want to track these skills. He actually isn't going for that build in lane, and he's just been going for the make it rain that we keep seeing. And Altec is maxing that make it rain first for all the range harassment with his mage support that they. Actually, Lemonnation might have to burn a summoner here. He dodges, yeah.
All right, Flash has to get spent just to get himself away from that one. Was in some real serious danger, and that's kind of the problem with both of these FlyQuest bottom lane champions, is that if they're out of position, they don't really have any tools aside from those summoner spells to get themselves out.
And definitely got out in the nick of time there because Chaser, as you just saw, was coming through for the lane gank and was sitting in the brush. Now out of danger though, and Chaser going to go ahead and clear his top quadrant. Nothing really interesting as both junglers just return to their farm.
A little bit of a difference between the junglers though. Skirmisher's Saber compared to the Tracker's Knife means Moon's going to be trying to get a little more of that vision down, a little more of that control over the map, while Chaser's just more interested in making sure he wins the fights.
Yeah, Nidalee is very much about the vision setting up her all-ins. High does get all-ins here, speaking of which.
High getting himself exhausted. Chaser looking to come in. Repel lands. Lemon is here trying to provide the escape. Fly High with the flash away so he can get himself out of there. Moon shows up to try to find some sort of a counterattack, but nothing really to be found.
Yeah, High took a tremendous amount of damage in addition to eventually blowing his flash as well. That's something that a lot of mid laners want to hold on to their flashes so long. They end up having to back as well as burn the summoner. But it does mean that in some situations, you're able to outplay enough and disengage and count on maybe Lemon coming up for the snare to save that summoner in exchange for a huge chunk of health. But he's right back out there, just uses his first teleport back to lane, so no big loss for him on the Jayce. And now he's got the lethality purchase to back it up.
Moon seeing if he can maybe find some revenge here in the mid lane for what Chaser did earlier. Gets the spear. No follow-up for it, but a spear from that range is still a decent chunk of damage to land onto Keane.
Plus, following up on your point about the Tracker's Knife, he takes this opportunity to lay down those two wards inside the red quadrant of Chaser's jungle. Meanwhile, Chaser, after seeing the spear thrown, light goes off, gonna go do the opposites on FlyQuest's side and lay down not only one ward, but also takes some of the raptors.
Just takes down that big chicken and leaves all those poor little orphan baby chickens there to wonder exactly what their fate's going to be at this point.
Comfort them.
Yeah, Moon's going to be there and put them out of their misery at least.
This is actually super important, and something that's way more important now that we don't have the old smites where you can smite raptors and get the little oracles buff. Every time where you have been tracking the enemy jungle, you know that they just came to invade something like your raptors, you're expecting them to leave behind wards, right? Because they want to be efficient. They want to make their time invading count, not only counter jungler, but also leaving behind that vision. So he expects there to be a ward laid around. The most common area is that brush that he just scanned with the sweeper. However, Chaser left it slightly back here out of the camp, and so it doesn't get swept, and he does get to leave, that ward right there a little bit longer. But Moon knows that he was in here and probably left something around behind. It's just all these little games as far as controlling information for junglers early on are the things that result in successful ganks or result in really good setups for skirmishes.
It's a mental outplay, pretty much. You're outreading the other guy, you're making the proper decision, making the right call, as Chaser is going to make the decision to hang around mid lane here a little bit. You can see a lot of blue side control wards up around that top half of the river there, as Dignitas is making sure that they keep an eye out for Moon. He tries to cross that neutral line and get himself in Chaser's face or into either of the lanes.
Yeah, and because of those mirrored invades, it basically has kind of split that map to top side blue there for Team Dignitas and bottom side mostly red vision as FlyQuest were able to have it. The wards that Moon placed with his traction knife just expired, but they did see Chaser head over to the red, so they can continue to track him.
High grabbing himself a blue buff on Jayce means he's going to have a lot of ability to spam all of these moves, get himself in a spot where he just can constantly put whatever kind of pressure he wants onto both the lane and to Keane. But of course, you can't exactly look at Corki laying down, a very strong champion in his own right, especially now with that Shen. He's going to have some serious trading potential too.
Yes, he is. Corki, no slouch. I expect High also to, once again, go for that Edge of Night rush, just to be able to block one of the big poke abilities, because so much of this team is going to be just ranged warfare as everyone's firing across their skill shots and waiting for the right number to land before trying to execute someone. Looks like we do have a grouping on bottom lane.
Dig tries to make a play, but Fly has the setup, looking to return the favor. First blood goes the way of Lod, but it's going to be retaliated upon. Xpecial now going to be number 2. Can they make it 3? Lod trying to get himself away. High closing the distance. Package delivery. Going to be keeping that AD carry alive, but it's 2 for 1. FlyQuest.
Keane sliding into bottom lane is able to cut it off there so they don't get another kill. But still, the grouping for FlyQuest, 4 greater than 3, even though Chaser was moving in again for another lane gank. The prep from FlyQuest was just more of a commitment. I didn't see where Balls was and why the Shen didn't come in to complete the 5-man from FlyQuest. But maybe in the replay we'll get a look here. He is right in lane up there trading with Gangplank, so maybe he didn't want to get chunked out, or maybe he just didn't have any time to react. Lemon got absolutely annihilated. They probably could have killed him through the Shen. So, but anyways, FlyQuest, as we said, with the extra members there, High was first to roam, so they were able to pull that off, which is pretty risky considering they did hear that Corki had the package, and pulling off roam play like that when you know Corki has the package is pretty risky, but High had such an early roam on Keane once again, and was able to make it work for their bottom lane.
Have to see how Dignitas decides to respond to this. They're still very far forward in the lane. They're still maintaining this pressure that they found for themselves earlier. CS still dead even too.
Yeah, CS looking good pretty much across the board for them. The jungle numbers, we tell you that they lie to you, and to a degree they do.
Yeah.
But Moon has also been out camping Chaser, or out farming Chaser as far as the individual camps are. Yeah, that's a good tab to keep track of the gold as well as experience levels. Just to update on the gold levels. He does have 1 extra kill for Moon, but that doesn't make up for the almost 1,000 gold lead he has. He has over 800 gold lead over Chaser at the moment, so that's more than just the kill, considering Chaser also has the assist. Plus, you can very clearly see the level advantage.
Oh yeah, Moon doing some good work on this Nidalee, and if we all remember the age of Nidalee's past, where she was in pretty much every single game ever, she was a very, very effective champion when it came to farming the jungle, clearing those camps, and still finding a way to be involved in the game anytime she was needed, as Moon continues laying down vision in the enemy jungle, just trying to always keep an eye on where these rotations are going to be, now trying to steal away some of the Krugs from Chaser. Grabs a big one and heads on out.
I'm really looking forward to the development of the team fight between these two squads, because the absolute lack of front lines, barring a Shen taunt flash from FlyQuest, and basically both teams are just packing a ton of artillery and waiting to see who gets the first hit to actually try and capitalize on them.
It's all about who can dial those shots in. Whoever actually has the accuracy behind all those big long-range abilities is going to be the one who wins.
And, you know, your homework that you do beforehand, setting up the vision enables you to land skill shots. So keeping track of all the wards around things like Dragon that are right now controlled by FlyQuest is also going to be important, because those are the things that do enable you to land a lot of them. That being said, Ssumday is off to his Trinity Force already on Gangplank, and the Shen Gangplank, Farm Fest definitely feels good for the Gangplank, as Ssumday ultimate is available and technically teleport is as well, but bottom lane looks to be a target once again as FlyQuest push him under.
And that Trinity Force is going to be up pretty soon on Keane as well. Once you have that double Trinity power spike, things can start to get a lot scarier. But FlyQuest are looking to make a play in bottom lane yet again. Xpecial going to be soaking a lot of damage coming out from that Shock Blast, enchanted with the acceleration gate. Heals himself back up a little bit, but he's still got to be respecting FlyQuest's potential to make another 4-man play.
And FlyQuest, they just back right off and head back to farming because of all that vision we talked about. They see the answer roam here from Team Dignitas coming down, and they immediately back off, get position, get blue traded off, and then get mid-wave shoving as well. And Hai even looks for a roam top. Let's see if they can make this work on Gangplank, because orange does get you out of the taunts, but I can also close distance and add his slow. Looks like some good shot calling or some warnings from Keane here to tell Ssumday that Hai is on the way up. And a little bit of a follow as well.
I popped the Edge of Night as he was going up there. Doesn't decide that he wants to go for any sort of a crazy berserk type of a dive or anything like that. Not really willing to push those kind of boundaries just yet, especially not with Keane having the package ready to deliver. Only about 1/4 time left on that, though, so we're likely going to see the same thing that happens to a lot of early game Corki packages, where they just sort of get left on the porch.
All right, there it goes down right there. Hai jumps into it, takes a bit of damage, and Keane slightly wins the trade.
Good enough. Good enough. About all you can expect out of an early game package usually, as FlyQuest going to be hanging around this river area, getting a little bit of vision down into the enemy jungle, trying to clear out what they can, controlling the entrance towards where this Drake is, and we might see attention turn to this if either team gets an opportunity soon, but we also got to remember Turret First Blood still available and up for grabs.
Turret First Blood is available, and the mid lane turret has been taking a beating here from Hai, the constant pressure, and they're looking to capitalize on it as well. But Keane focuses on the minion wave, clears out all the minions, and puts a stop to that. So that means that Balls has to go back top to try and put a stop to this Gangplank. He's melting the turret.
Yeah, if you just... The mid lane turret might be low, but if you just let Gangplank wail on this top lane turret, it's going to be going down first, just setting up more barrels for himself, trying to find this kill.
He already used his orange.
Gets himself taunted up, pops the ultimate, has to go in full retreat, and Balls keeps that turret alive.
I wonder if the ultimate usage is going to be enough to prompt some dragon poking around here. Or maybe even just a return to bottom lane. Because it is a very big ability. Down.
Lod gonna go ahead and fire off that chain of corruption in bottom lane. Stranglethorn's counterattack. Bullet time coming out too. Chaser's gonna be bursted. So is Lod. Double kill from Moon's Nidalee. That's the kind of damage that FlyQuest need.
Now it's a race for the turret. They're going to be able to get it. Ssumday will eventually be able to answer topside, but the kill's going over to FlyQuest first, and they just barely get that first turret. Ssumday tried to race in there and beat him to the punch. Not going to be the case, though. Drake on the table next.
Sometimes all you need is just a second to get that extra gold for the turret First Blood. FlyQuest deciding that one objective is just not enough. They're going for the Mountain Drake now, too. Shouldn't be any sort of a problem taking this one down. Moon and Lemon have enough to grab that, and why not make it 3, Kobe? 3 is the charm, and they're going to be grabbing the first turret in mid lane as well. FlyQuest looking good with a 3K gold lead.
The constant mid and bottom pressure from FlyQuest, not quite as ridiculous as game number 1, but still just as effective. And the spear landed for Moon before the flash. He was able to get out of range, and then the debuff's still on there for him to go in for the pounce kill. And we talked about accuracy, and it's about who hits the first shot. FlyQuest landing those skill shots to earn themselves this gold lead they're working with. I still do put a lot of weight into Gangplank farming up, though, and, you know, being wary of Gangplank, because just as easily as that fight was super explosive and FlyQuest got some very quick kills, the skill shots could start coming in from Team Dignitas and land in their favor as well.
Gangplank ulti going to be called down. Heal pop to get Lemonnation out of trouble. Wanted to make sure he didn't sit there and endure another volley of those cannonballs, as the mid lane tier 1 going to be taken dangerously low on the side of FlyQuest.
Yeah, they get it low, but both side lanes pushing for FlyQuest. And they've got minion pressure, so that's going to alleviate anything that Team Dignitas were trying to create around mid lane. Seems like FlyQuest just, again, another step ahead. Ah, that Shock Blast doesn't land.
But he's got Edge of Night, so you can't really counterattack him.
Yeah, protected there, goes in for a couple shots.
Chaser grabbing his own blue buff. Not really worried about passing that one off anytime soon. Just going to be picking that one up as the Elise. One thing I'm going to go ahead and comment on too is you're seeing with the Nidalee build, Runic Echo's done. Second item is going to be what looks like Lich Bane. So going for that big burst cape of a build. Lod barely getting himself away from a bullet time.
Yeah, the Lich Bane or Iceborne Gauntlet, whichever one he does buy, merely having a Sheen right there adds so much to not only your execute for if someone gets hit by the skill shot, but also could help out if they're spreading the map and trying to take down turrets as well, speed that process up a little bit. Interesting. He will be very squishy, but everybody's squishy in this game except
Yeah,
Falls.
I feel like that's just kind of the nature of this game is you're gonna be squishy, so just turn yourself into Ballistic Missile Nidalee, and when you go in there, make sure somebody goes down with you.
Maybe we see him get a Zhonya so he doesn't perish on the way out as well. But yeah, this is going to be a game with indexing very heavily in dodge skill.
Moon and Lemon hanging around the enemy jungle, laying down a couple of different wards. Going to be seeing that that blue buff is not available for the taking, so they just head themselves on out. As Lod's going to be firing those piercing arrows here in mid lane, shoving this up as well. He's fallen behind Altec's Misfortune a little bit in terms of farm yet again.
I mean, yeah, they once again, they focus the bottom lane, play after play down there, forcing them off. Dignitas, though, they finally wear down and take out the mid lane turret, really closing that gap a little bit in terms of gold as well as area on the map. That being said, though, all their vision is defensive. You can see that they're backpedaling right now for the most part.
Dignitas, 2,000 gold down, 3 kills down, but the turrets are all tied up, which is something that's keeping them in a decent enough spot this game. Rift Herald was not taken this game. Last time around, we actually saw FlyQuest so far ahead, they felt comfortable taking that seldomly grabbed objective. This game's a lot more in normal territory.
Yep, much closer. Plus, when both teams have the giant artillery, then it becomes a Cold War, and they're just staring each other down.
Everybody, I got my guns, you got yours.
Who's gonna fire? Are you gonna go all in on this one, or go all in on the next one? During this waiting game, FlyQuest are eking out slow and measured leads in terms of turret durability. High, once again, gets here first, gets a little bit of damage on the turret, and then is able to move away after leaving Keane to deal with a minion wave.
And you know, going into this, we were kind of talking about the inconsistencies that we had seen in Keane and Chaser, and we were also talking about how Moon is really like surprising everybody in a really pleasant way. And right now, Moon's 3-0, and Chaser is 0-2, and well, he's got 1 assist, but it's still kind of par for the course for the way things have been trending lately. Moon's looking good, and Chaser's looking like it's going to be Ssumday's responsibility to win the game again.
I mean, yeah, a lot of money. A lot of the eggs for Team Dignitas are in the Gangplank late game basket. Like,
it's a crowded basket.
Some of those barrels exploding can get you multi-kills pretty quickly. We'll see, though. The important part for these team fights is going to be really interesting because both of these very range-heavy team comps are going to want to have their DPS spread out so you don't get caught in the same barrel or the ultimate, or the same Misfortune ultimate or the same Gangplank ultimate, and it is going to be so much about that positioning. We'll see how they get down in the 10-man fight. I'm looking forward to the day, but as of right now, continue to split because we're
going to have to wait for something to be worth fighting over. Maybe it's the Mountain Drake that's going to be spawning in about 30 seconds, maybe not, but it's going to take some encouraging to get these two to actually pull the triggers on all that artillery they got waiting. Keane going to be forced back as High threatens to maybe jump on him with that to the skies, but he's perfectly content just hanging out underneath this turret, clearing those waves away.
Yeah, definitely true. And the vision slowly moving its way up into Team Dignitas territory as well.
Creeping.
A couple there.
They've got a few wards of their own. Actually, quite a few wards. More than quite a few. A lot of wards of their own in the top part of their own blue side jungle as a little bit of a replay of what was happening here. The flash away from Moon from the piercing arrow just didn't want anything to do with that, I guess.
I mean, we talk about the importance of dodging skill shots here. Nobody wants to get hit by a single ability. What's this around? Who's shooting at me? Everybody's very twitchy when there's this much range damage flying around.
When nothing's been going on for a while, the single gunshot will spook you. You got to be ready for it.
Yeah. Now he doesn't have that for the team fight. Hey, you mentioned this Mountain Drake. Let's see them skill shots fly. Balls is ready to land this multi-tie. You can see his eyes getting big. They're stacking up. If I can land my taunt.
The flash taunt, this might be needed. Spear comes over the wall along with the shock blast. Ssumday going to be eating a lot of damage from those.
Yeah, sustain from Nami is very, very high priority right now as he heals him up a decent amount, but the shots continue to land.
More shots coming through. That shock blast won't be hitting the mark.
Fire at will.
Still looking for the chance to come in here. The barrel's going to find its way onto balls. Piercing arrow going to be doing the same. Lemon off to the side. Mountain Drake secured by Moon. FlyQuest grabbing themselves that one. Moon's at about half HP, though. Got to give him a little bit of time to heal back up, and we're back to the farm game.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty difficult, right? Because most of Gangplank's folk you kind of have to walk into, and if FlyQuest have positioning around the objective already, the Nidalee and Jayce poke is super duper long range, and while Varus can match that, the Elise can't really, right? Kakuni's gonna have to dodge something first to get into that position to then try and land it. That being said, if that thing does land, it's more effective because it makes everything else land on top of it.
One thing I want to go ahead and point out, just real quick, Medjai's Soul Stealer on Moon's Nidalee. If that doesn't say, I'm gonna farm you guys and I know it, what does?
He has had such a confident split here on FlyQuest. We talked about his demeanor walking around, and his smile on his face is great to see. But yeah, the Medjai's picked up. He's definitely feeling the advantage here in the poke wars. Can't really blame him, as he did get the early 3 kills. He already had some stacks on the ring, and so you feel like, hey, if I just get a couple more kills, my ring's gonna cap out. I gotta increase my limit, right?
Yeah, gotta have that upward potential to keep on stacking and keep on getting more and more ferocious.
It does feel like it dissuades the all-ins, though. Jumping in for the executions now, because go down, you lose a lot of them, but I do like the pickup.
Bottom lane, tier 2, taken down by High, increases that objective lead 4-2 in terms of turrets, 2-0 in terms of Drakes. And talking about these long-range champions, just the nature of what this matchup looks like so far, those Mountain Drakes could end up mattering a lot as we go further and further towards the late game.
Yeah, I mean, it's helping them wear down these turrets a little bit quicker. FlyQuest do have that split advantage that they've been using High and Balls on, just like they had High and Balls split pushing last game. And the 1-3-1 is working out for them. Team Dignitas, as we said, they benefit so much if FlyQuest are funneling in, if they're walking towards you. It makes it so much easier to land barrel chains, easier to land any of the AoE as well if they're coming through these corridors or even through one of the lanes that you really want to take advantage of.
And you saw 2 piercing arrows actually come out from Lod there. They both found their way onto Moon, and then Moon just healed them both right back off. Almost completely, so...
One of the buffs that she did receive as well, so...
Pretty much a stalemate between those two as Ssumday just continues piling more and more money onto himself. You can see more lethality items heading his way. Edge of Night. If it's hard enough to kill Gangplank when he's got oranges to get out of trouble, now he's also going to have an extra spell shield to get out of trouble. It's going to be real hard to actually pin this guy down.
To get into trouble?
Yeah, to get into... How's he ever even going to find his way into trouble?
All right.
He'll be strong. He's going to be very ferocious. And I mean, if there's one guy that we can talk about saying they're putting all their eggs in the basket of him winning, a top-tier top laner like Ssumday, that's the kind of guy you can focus on.
I want to see some sick triple barrels, some flash parlays to execute.
I want to see some frame-perfect barrel timing, the kind of stuff where you drop the barrel like as it's exploding.
Yeah.
That's what I'm waiting to see from this guy.
Well,
time ekes slowly onward. Still just a 1-4 game. Very low kills overall, as both sides now going to be looking towards this Baron more and more frequently, as if a big fight does happen with a damage-heavy composition, you can take it real quick.
And remember, in a game full of snipers, high ground is the #1 most important thing here. So you get the extra vision with your ward work that you're doing right now. You want to be able to shoot over these walls and find people in the corridors. FlyQuest have a pretty good advantage here with the red side. They force Team Dignitas to walk up through these jungle corridors that they can put some wards in, so it makes it way easier to land your skill shots. And super scary for Team Dignitas to ever come and try and even check this barren area. And they really are doing that, getting the extra line of sight.
I believe it was earlier. It was a little bit earlier this season. We saw a game. It was an Echo Fox game where Looper was 0-0-0 on Slain until 42 minutes. And right now, the Corki of Keane is 0-0-0 at 27 minutes. So I want to see how long he's going to sit at 0-0-0 in this Cold War type scenario, because he might just beat Looper's record in 2017.
All right, well, we might have it.
We might.
Where is he right now? He's heading bottom lane. Does not have a package, so
he's constantly on clear duty. He's always having to respond to High's pressure in the bottom part of the map.
Very true. And here it is. This is the gameplay we talked about. Getting that vision advantage, forcing them to walk towards you through small corridors so you can land.
Counterattack on the Ssumday. Damage going to be coming through. Bullet time over the wall. The burst is there. Moon's on a rampage. Now High's going to be looking for more. Grabbing Lod. Oh, with the flash into the taunt. Keane going to be the target next. Exhaust onto High. 2 for 0 for FlyQuest. Baron is now the call.
That feel when you land your flash taunt and, oh, I'm too far ahead of all my DPS. There's no DPS to back it up. It doesn't matter, though, because they took out the Gangplank. Ssumday doesn't even, he can't even use his ultimate. 27 more seconds. Are they actually going to try and stop this? That would be suicide.
Yeah, there's no way to go in there and really do anything about this. And another FlyQuest Baron, 29 minutes into the game. These guys are so good at finding 20-something minute Barons.
Yeah, man. I mean, the War of Snipers is all about getting the advantageous terrain. They're able to do that, and look how easy it is to land not only the skill shots, but the good AoE from the bottom lane there of FlyQuest to absolutely annihilate the high damage from Dignitas. And yeah, there it is, the flash taunt.
It was a really good flash taunt, to be honest. It was really good. It's just the coordination wasn't quite where they wanted it to be, but Drake also now taken by FlyQuest, their third of the game. That's going to be a Cloud Drake on top of those two mountains, and he's the last little elemental guy that's going to be showing up this game. Here on out, it's Elder, Elder, Elder. If the game even lasts that long, FlyQuest are looking pretty ferocious with this Baron buff.
Yeah, they've just got so much more, vision to work with as well. Baron buff empowering that 1-3-1 that we talked about with, High and balls. Means that they are going to just corral Team Dignitas inside their own territory, ward up both sides of their own jungle, and eliminate most of the opportunities for income here, as Team Dignitas are struggling even to get the CS that are being pushed into their inhibitor turrets.
One more auto attack onto this tier 2 will take it down. Moon just walks up and finds that pretty much for free. Also going for the Athene's Unholy Grail as his next completed item. So you've got like the super greedy carry item and the Medjai's Soul Stealer, and then you go right back towards support Nidalee and say, no, I'm not going totally greedy.
Hello, the AP works for increasing your heal as well. It's the medic build.
Oh yeah, that's right, it's medic Nidalee. You've got stronger med kits to distribute to your team so that they won't die as much. Speaking of dying, that bottom lane inhibitor turret is nothing but ruins now, as High made very short work of it, now pressuring onto the inhib itself. He's got Moon making that rotation over with those top-tier heals to keep him topped off. And the inhibitor is under threat, down to about 1/3 HP. Chain of Corruption going to be finding its way onto Moon. Piercing Arrow as well, but the follow-up is not there. Moon gets himself away, and now that's going to be one big tool in that Varus ultimate not available for Dignitas' defense.
This is what we've been missing from so many of the Jayce plays. Oh, wow.
My goodness, that bullet time damage. Lod forced to flash out just to keep himself alive. Shock Blast comes out, accelerated, but still won't be finding the mark, and FlyQuest has cleanly found 2 inhibitors so far. The Tidal Wave and the Gangplank ultimate going to be used to try to scare these guys off, but what are they scared away from? They got what they came for. Shock Blast is a parting gift. 1 inhibitor left to take.
And just like that, your base has been reduced to almost nothing here for Team Dignitas. Super minions will be flooding in. It's only 32 minutes into the game. FlyQuest have full dragon control. They've got full map control. They've got the extra globals here. They even have the extra range on their damage, and it's just been complete and utter control for FlyQuest. You're still, if you're a Team Dignitas fan, you're still hoping for that sick barrel chain.
You're still hoping for a barrel that hits 5 people.
Somewhere, and it's becoming less and less likely as, step number 1 is controlling the battlefield, and the battlefield has been under FlyQuest control since 20 minutes ago.
FlyQuest now looking to get the last pieces of the puzzle in place for themselves now in the top lane. You see the barrel connect onto Balls. It actually did a lot of damage considering Balls is the tank, but
back at full, dude.
He's back at full because of Medkit Nidalee.
No!
It's a rough life for Team Dignitas. Even with the Gangplank having the double lethality into the LDR, into the Trinity Force, it's just not enough. Not unless he catches one of those real juicy, squishy targets, but
try as you might, the poke will not stick.
High pressuring mid lane as well, just kind of clearing everybody out of the way, making the path to those super minions as Laud's going to be forced to heal now. Remember, he still has no flash. Moon going to be pumping auto attacks into that remaining inhibitor turret along with Altec. The spears are going to be zoning them away. Bullet time comes out. Altec going to be jumped on. Stand United, keeping him alive. High's grabbing the killing spree onto Laud. Shut down over onto Moon. Keane picks up one, but the inhibitor falls as the cost. Dignitas forced to retreat and heal as the Nexus turrets come under fire. Both of them going to be destroyed almost instantaneously. High looking to go deep. Keane is done. Ssumday going to be next if he's not careful about it. Chaser looking to make the play. Can't do it. Double kill for High. Ssumday forced to watch as the base and the Nexus are reduced to nothing, and FlyQuest grabs their 2-0.
The tenacious split push gained them so much territory, and then that single play, setting up your vision around the jungle corridors, and they're easily able to make the poke land, take out Team Dignitas. What a split for FlyQuest, man.
Yeah.
I mean, even though they did lose their one set last week, these guys just look so good, and they really emphasize the importance of the decisiveness of your team, the focus on your win conditions, the focus on your game plan, and sticking to that. Almost every single time we had him on screen, he was either roaming to the other lane or split pushing down a tower. This is what we've been lacking from so many of the Jayce players, is just constantly keeping up that pressure, right? He at no point let it up. At no point let that advantage start to dwindle, and he was just always being proactive with it. Balls as well, back-to-back Shen games, allowing them to have that extra threat for the global plays that they're trying to set up.
The coherency of this team just as a 5-man unit is so fun to watch because they can execute these compositions in such an entertaining way where they always just seem to be one step ahead of their opponent. It's like watching some kind of a chess expert play against somebody who's not quite up to speed with them, and they're just like, nope, I've got 7 moves ahead of you, and we win the game.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell that Team Dignitas during the game are trying to figure out what the next step is, and kind of discussing it back and forth. They're like, okay, we need to accomplish X. Whereas FlyQuest are just from the get-go, we need to focus that bottom lane, teleport down there. They make a couple attempts at it. As soon as they find their success, they open up the map and they're able to lay down the vision. That is basically the path for them to close the game.
Yep, it was slow going for a little while, but FlyQuest still found their win. So let's send things over to the analysts to see what